Hello, and thanks again for joining us for another Fathom Live, a live stream show dedicated to giving you tips and insights from experts in and around the real estate industry. I'm your host, Jeff Sturtz. Glad to be with you today. As far as experts go, we have somebody, I don't know if you'd call him an expert. He dabbles in real estate. But with us today is the Fathom CEO and founder, Josh Harley. Let's bring Josh on here for a second to say hi before I just blab about a few other things.
I think you're right. Dabbling is probably the way to put it. My wife always makes fun of me because whenever we meet a stranger and they ask, "What do you do for a living?" I usually say, I dabble in real estate, so I have to sit there and explain everything to everyone. Right? So,
well, keep dabbling. It seems like it's working. So, very good. Well, before we jump into our questions, and I'm looking forward to it, and we are kind of focusing on, a little bit about what's happened in 2020. I know sometimes we want to take a grenade and chuck it behind us and say goodbye to this year, but we're going to talk about some great stuff in 2020, but mainly looking at what you want to do for 2021 as we're thinking ahead to next year. So we'll be looking at that, but first of all, we always have a giveaway drawing. So if you comment, just simply say, "Hey, how's it going?" On the Facebook or YouTube feed, we'll count you in the drawing. If you comment during the show, ask a question that gets included in the show, then we add you to the drawing a few more times so that you have a better chance of being drawn. For our last show, we had Randall Gross as our winner. So congratulations, Randall. And you can win one of three prizes. You can win a photo listing package worth up to $200 and $200 worth of Go Social Leads service, as well as a $200 yard sign package. So get to commenting, shout out, just tell us where you're hailing from. We already have a bunch of people on already. I think we have, a whole ton of people. Patty and Jennifer and Rob and Wendy's watching. Hey, Wendy, Patty, Andre, a whole bunch of you. So thanks for already jumping in. So just tell us where you're from. And also, this is an interactive show. So here's your chance if you wanted to ask Josh some questions. We'll try to save some time for that during the show as well. But we also like to point you to Go Social Agent, where you can get effective and affordable social media services for your real estate business. They'll help you get your account set up, do automated postings, agent-branded articles, buyer and seller handbooks, Facebook ad campaigns, and more. So they'll help you grow your online community, and you can learn more at GoSocialAgent.com. If you haven't hit the notification bell on YouTube that lets you know that we're going live, it's better to watch it live. That way you can ask the questions with our guest while it's happening. Follow us on Facebook, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. That would be great. So anyways, we'll get that out of the way. It is our Christmas special, and I actually have real hot chocolate in here. I know you can't taste it, but it helps me set the mood. So thank you for joining us on this special. Josh, thank you for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah. So as a special, go ahead.
By the way, really quick, it's 73 degrees outside, so hot cocoa is I'm drinking cold water.
I'm dying in here. It was cold in our house this morning, so I kicked up the heat, and now I'm in flannel, and it's pretty warm. So as it is a holiday special, and whether you have a mensch on a bench or a dreidel in your cradle or a elf on a shelf, we're glad to have you watching today. But some rapid fire Christmas questions for you, Josh. So this is just to get to know you. First of all, what's your favorite Christmas song?
That would have to be Bing Crosby's rendition of "I'm Dreaming of White Christmas." It's my favorite because it brings back so many amazing childhood memories. I absolutely love that song, and really his version of that song most of all.
What if we had 150 live viewings by the end of the show, and I will sing it at the end?
I would love that. You've got so. A lot of people don't know this, that I get to listen to Jeff sing every single week. And it's actually a highlight of my week. So, yeah.
You're probably wondering what in the world you're talking about. I come and serenade him. It's part of my job.
It is. It is.
I'd have to get the lyrics.
I wake up in the morning around 6:30 a.m. He walks in with my cup of coffee and he sings to me. So, people don't think that's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on from there. But yeah, right now we've got. We have a lot of people that watch the show after, but if you can invite your friends and we can get up to 150 people watching live, I'll sing that at the end. Right now, I think we have 67. So if you can, invite your friends, you'll get a treat. How about your most memorable Christmas gift or favorite Christmas gift? Well, one of the two.
It won't be favorite. It'll be the most memorable. I think that's a great question. So, I grew up pretty poor. I didn't know I was poor. I thought we were rich. My father always gave at church, and, we always had what we needed. We never had what we wanted, but we always had what we wanted or what we needed. So my father was 35 years military veteran. I grew up with 5 brothers and sisters. I got 7 brothers and sisters now, but I grew up with 5 in the house. And so we didn't really have a lot. It was always hand-me-downs. And one year, I think I was in the 3rd grade. We were living in Kodiak, Alaska at the time. I opened up the first present. And before I tell you what it was, I look back and I feel so ashamed because I feel really bad for my father. But I opened the first gift, and you know what it was? It was ketchup. It was a thing of ketchup. And then the next thing I opened up, it was a hammer. And so the series of gifts, all the gifts, we opened up a lot of gifts, I'll be honest. 5 kids in the house, there's a lot of gifts to be opened. But it was actually at the time there's 4, I believe, at the time. But it was a lot of tools, so screws, hammers, nails, and then there's actually food items. There's actually no toys. And so of course, I was very respectful. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. But my heart, you could probably see all of our faces were like, no toys. But, looking back, he was trying to give us things that we could actually use and do versus just toys that you play with for a couple of days and get thrown away. I understand the value, but it really was the most memorable gift I ever got, and probably one of the most disappointing Christmases I ever had. I swore I'd never do that to my own kids. In fact, I did something the opposite. One year we gave our kids so many gifts between myself and the grandparents and everyone else. They had so many gifts that my kids refused to open presents. Halfway through, they quit. I'm done. My daughter started crying. I don't want to open any more presents. Don't make me open any more presents. It was so bad. So after I limited my parents and her parents, my wife's parents, to 1 present each, because everyone was sending 4 or 5 gifts per grandparent, and we had a lot of grandparents. And with 7 brothers and sisters, you can imagine, 2 gifts per. Probably 50 presents per child. So we went the opposite, the extreme, and it didn't work out either. So that's probably their most memorable childhood memory of Christmas. Getting too many. So,
an avalanche. Well, I was going to ask you what your favorite Christmas food is, but it's probably not ketchup then. No, you probably take hammers around and hammer ketchup bottles.
I do still love ketchup. By the way, they thought it was funny. So one year I walk out of the kitchen. They asked me to go get ketchup, and this is why they gave me ketchup. I walk out of the kitchen pouring ketchup into my mouth.
So it was thoughtful, at least. That's funny. All right, favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, that's got to be Elf. That's Will Ferrell. I know it's not a classic, but it's by far my favorite. It's kind of
becoming a classic, I think.
Yeah. It has to be. It's got to be one of the best Christmas movies of all time. In my opinion, I know, but.
Well, speaking of opinions, awesome. What's your opinion? Well, not everybody is familiar with this, but Krampus. Are you familiar? Do you celebrate with Krampus as part of your Yuletide traditions?
No, that'd be punishing your children, not rewarding your children. He's a dude I'd prefer to stay on the good side of. So for those of you who don't know, Krampus is kind of the anti-Santa. Some people think that he's Santa's kind of right-hand man, right? So if you're naughty, you get Krampus instead. So, he's basically a bad Santa. So nice and you get toys from Santa, and naughty and you better hope that Santa gives you coal, because otherwise you get Krampus and who knows what happens. And I think no one has ever survived to tell the tale of Krampus. So no, it's not someone I'd like to stay on his.
Well, they try in Norway. They try to tell it with parades and whippings and things like that. But
that's right.
That's true. Okay, since we're on Santa real quick, and I've only got one more after this, and then the show's over. That was it. No, I'm just kidding. How many reindeer can you name in 10 seconds?
Do we have to?
We don't have to.
Let's see. Rudolph, Dasher, Vixen. Actually, no, can't be Vixen. That'd be an awkward conversation with your kids. Dancer. Okay, that's where our end. You got Tipsy, Dopey, Sleepy. I'm so bad at names. I really am. Hopefully it's
But
not sleepy because that makes some really dangerous rooftop landings.
he's in the lead. Yeah. All right, last one. Nog or no nog? Are you a nogger?
Oh, I'm a nog guy. I do that. That's why I'm so fat. You have to look at me and you know immediately I'm a nog guy. It's very fattening, a lot of calories. I think 1 cup is like 400 calories.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's worth the calories.
We never had nog growing up, and then I married your sister, and she does the full cup of nog, and I
Oh yeah,
could handle a shot glass. So
easy
so
600 calories. I stay away from the homemade stuff. I won't touch the homemade stuff, but the store-bought generic stuff, the cheap stuff, that's what I like.
so we're gonna try
Sugar,
some.
sugar.
There you go. We're gonna try something during the show. If you, we're gonna throw in some holiday trivia for our viewers. The first person to comment on either Facebook and YouTube will get a $25 gift card to. Well, this would be Fathom Agents. How would we do this without Fathom Agents? Nevertheless, Fathom Agents, you get a $25 gift card to the marketing store if you can answer these Christmas trivia questions. The first one, and if you don't get this, you're not my friend. Then who played, you ought to get this, who played George Bailey in the classic Christmas movie It's a Wonderful Life? There you go. There's your first question. We'll throw some more in there. If you answer it first, we'll give you a gift card. Since we had you on the show last, kind of transitioning to Fathom stuff, and well, not just Fathom stuff, but real estate stuff, but regarding Fathom, we've had, I think, well over 1,000 agents join Fathom, which is remarkable. It seems like we've had you on before, but before that. But would you mind just briefly sharing? And I'm sure there's a lot of non-Fathom agents. In fact, a couple of people piped in, said, "I've just heard about this company, really interested in it." On the comments here, could you just share the Fathom story? Why you started Fathom?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. By the way, of that over 1,000 agents who joined since the last time I was on the show, 50% of our growth is from agents referring other agents. So, I'd love to take credit for that growth, but our agents, it just shows that they love the company, that we serve them right, and they're willing to tell the story. So I have to say a big thank you to our agents for helping us hit those numbers. It's exciting growth. And a lot of people tell us how amazing our growth is, but we can't take credit for it. Really, the agents are the ones kind of telling that story. So thank you. But the Fathom story. So hopefully you got some time to me to answer that
Well,
question.
yeah, I did say the word brief, but do what you can.
I'll keep it brief. When I first started Fathom, before I started Fathom, I was an agent, just like probably almost everyone listening right now. And I was an agent with a big traditional brand, and we were closing a lot of business, myself and my team. And it was very difficult because we were going to pay between myself and my team, we're going to pay that company over $100,000 in commission splits. And I couldn't, for lack of better terms, fathom why. What was the justification? What was the value exchange for that $100,000? We were too busy going to the training classes, and that's what they're known for. We were too big as a team and spread out to really be in their offices, which, by the way, you still have to pay extra for the offices. They never sent us a single lead. So I knew that all of our business was coming from our efforts. In fact, our technology was technology I was getting on the side because a third-party technology I can get was better than what they were providing. And so I didn't see the value exchange, the value proposition from the company. Still, I still have great feelings for that company. I think it's a great company, but I just didn't see the value proposition. I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew there's a lot of agents that felt the same way. And I started looking around the industry, and I came across that model, that 100% commission model. And while I loved the idea of that model, I didn't find another company that was actually doing it right. It was literally a license warehouse. You move to that company, you hang your license, 100% nothing is still nothing. In fact, the company I was looking at, they had about 1,000 agents, and they closed about 1,000 homes per year. Right? That's one sale per agent. And so while the model made a lot of sense, you get what you paid for. And so I knew there had to be some happy medium, some hybrid approach where you get all the tools, technology, training, resources that you can otherwise get from these big traditional companies, but at that 100% commission model. Because the fact is, my job as the broker remains the same whether you close a $200,000 home or a $2 million home. Why am I taking more of your commission, right? I mean, outside of maybe some extra E&O costs because you're at a multi-million-dollar level, the E&O costs really don't change that much. And so, what is really the difference? And so why can't there be a way that we provide more opportunity for the agents? And I know I needed that. I knew other agents needed the same thing. And so that's really kind of where the idea for Fathom came from, right? The idea that we need to move more to an agent-centric, right? Empower the agents, allow the agents to keep more of their own money and let them reinvest it back into their business. I didn't want to be big government, right? I didn't want to be the people who tax you huge taxes and then go spend your money the way I want to spend your money, not the way you think it should be spent, right? If you want to invest that money in feeding your family and setting up vacations or retirement, great. If you want to spend that money on building your business and investing in growth, great. It's your choice. But when you give all your money to that big brokerage who's taking 30, 40% of your commission, you don't have that choice. They're taking that choice away from you, right? So I really want to be able to empower the agents. So Fathom means to come to understand. And that's what we're trying to do, trying to move away from that broker-centric idea to the agent-centric, empower you to do what you want with your business. In fact, I know it works because right now, the average agent, after 4 years of being with Fathom, increased their sale by 49%. That's a big number. That's not us. That's the agents taking that savings and reinvest it back in their business. We have a lot of agents who double their business after the first year because they take all of their savings. So right now, I'll give you an example. The average agent who joins Fathom saves around $12,000 to $15,000 per year, depending on what brokerages they're coming from. That's a lot of money, but it's not life-changing. Imagine what you could do if you had that $12,000 and you reinvested it all back into your business, 100% of it. I know from my own personal experience that every $1,000 I spend, and really it's actually $800, for every $800 I spend on my marketing and investing in lead generation, I should close one more deal. So if I can close 12 more deals per year by reinvesting it all as if I was still with the other brokerage, reinvesting back in my market, that's another 12 sales per year. Now we're talking about around $100,000 per year in extra income. Now it's life-changing. And I wanted to be able to do that for Fathom agents. And though something's got to give to really be truly successful, something's got to give. So, I really do believe we provide all the tools, the training, the technology, the support that the other big traditional companies do. But people say, what's the catch? And there is a catch. We don't provide offices. That's the catch. But the question is,
which in 2020 sort of has forced the issue a little bit on that.
Well, yeah. If you want an office, I'll get you an office, but I'll take 30% of your commission. Would you rather pay $450 or $3,000 a month to have an office space that you can go to but never actually use? So I think it's a fair trade-off. But to that point, one of the things I'm very proud of is that, and by the way, when I speak to other brokerages about this, being virtual doesn't necessarily mean you never meet your agents and communicate and take care of your agents. I really stress to our local managers to physically bring our agents together as often as possible, hopefully 2 to 3, 4 times per month, if you can do that, right? Because the more often you bring agents together, you can't build culture in a vacuum. So it's really important to physically bring people together. Real estate is a people business. It tends to attract more extroverts than introverts. Now, I'm very much an introvert. I know that, but it tends to attract more extroverts. And if you're completely virtual and you never see each other, you start to feel lonely and isolated and separated. So it is really important to still physically bring agents together. And while we're virtual, I'm very proud of the fact we still do that.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I know we're somewhat limited in what we're able to say by way of this next question here, but I don't know if you can speak to any of this. Lee Taylor asked, what new technology is around the corner?
So, yeah, I got to be very careful. I don't make any forward-looking statements, but some things that we have made public is the fact that we're currently building out our own agent websites, our own corporate website, CRM system. So we're replacing that third-party tech that all the other companies use, because there's a lot of our competitors use the exact same technology. So we're looking to build our own. Now we're not gonna roll that out until we have something that's as good or better than we're currently using. So don't worry if you're a Fathom agent, if you really love the websites, you're going to lose something. We're going to make sure we truly build out all those features that you really love and then some. But here's the real value to why we're doing that. Number one, I think we can do a better job. I really feel confident in that. See, most third-party companies, they build technology based around kind of the lowest common denominator, who can afford their technology. And so they tend to leave some different pieces out. And on top of that, most brokerages have 5 or 6 different technologies that they invest in. You as an agent have to log into all these different systems, and the systems don't communicate. So, I want to be able to, when you have a listing, and you put that listing in the MLS, it should automatically create a transaction for you in the transaction management system, right? When you've got a buyer who registers on your website and you convert them in the CRM from showings to under contract, it should automatically create a new transaction for you in the system and start filling in all the documents for you and get them ready for e-signatures. We can automate that process to really save you time and save you energy, right? So you spend more time selling and less time worrying about the paperwork. So we're really excited about being able to do that. And more importantly, by differentiating, we can actually start generating more traffic and more leads for our agents. I think that's really key. A lot of agents are spending huge amounts of money with Zillow and Realtor.com and the rest of these places. Why? Why can't we generate the leads for our agents instead of spending that money outside of the company to grow your business? Let us help you grow your business. And so we'll generate the leads for you. So there's a lot of really exciting things we're working on. A lot of really cool modules that I can't share right now, but we've got underway right now that we're getting ready to roll out. So I'm really stoked. We got some things that are going to make your eyebrows raise, like what? And I think you're going to be really excited about some of the things we're rolling out. But again, I can't share too much. So.
Wow. Well, thank you for even sharing that. I mean, good question, Lee. And just several comments. Great news. That's really exciting. To your culture, Brandy said our broker does an awesome job at that, making everybody feel supported. So that's good. Well, kind of getting down to like the agent level, maybe you can share some experience here. You've been a highly successful agent as yourself. You've started Fathom, which has been successful. So what are some things that you've learned from that whole journey that you could share with our agents who are in the thick of it?
Sure. I think first of all, stop looking for the silver bullet. I mean, a lot of agents I talk to who are closing just a few homes per year, they're always looking for that quick fix. What can I do right now to start selling, 15, 20 homes per year? And outside of spending a lot of money on Zillow and Realtor.com and places which most people don't have those funds starting out to do that, outside of that, there is no quick fix. So stop looking for that silver bullet. I think it's really important to take a step back and really think about, how do I grow this business? And that comes down to relationships. I would focus on relationships. Every top agent I meet with, how do they grow their business? It always comes down to their sphere. I mean, probably 95% of their business is coming from their sphere. We've got agents who are closing 80, 90 homes per year without a team. And about 90% of the business is coming from their referral base. When you look at the referral base, we're not talking about thousands of people in their sphere. We're talking about 150, 100, 150, 200 agents at max in their sphere. So I would really focus on that first and foremost. And then as you build that out and you get to the point, at some point that does cap, right? There's only so many deals you can generate per year from your sphere. That's when you start to supplement with outside sources. Now you've got the money coming in to be able to afford to deviate an extra $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 per month on lead sources. Because if you think you can spend $300 or $400 per month on a lead source, I'm sorry, they'll take your money, but you're not going to generate a lot of closings from that, right? I mentioned earlier, kind of my own experience, that it takes about $1,000 per month over time to really generate one closing from most lead sources. So, you're gonna have to probably spend a good $6,000 before you see that one closing come in. And a lot of agents just don't have that. And what typically happens is they'll start down that path. They'll start investing $1,000 a month, and they'll get 3 months into it without a closing. They might get some leads, but not a closing yet, and they quit. The problem is they're quitting too soon. Mm-hmm. And part of it's because, again, it's not enough money to really generate the leads. So I would go back and focus on relationships first. And so I'd put it this way, and I don't want to take too much time on this, but think about that source, right? I can show you almost every agent how to generate about 50 closings per year from your just about 100 people in your sphere. That's it, just 100 people. And the way you do that, first you have to understand the math. I think that's really key, is understand the math behind it. So for example, we know that about 5% of the population moves every year. If you've got about 100 people in your sphere, the reason I pick 100 people is because it's hard to build an intimate relationship with anything beyond 100 people. If you're really extroverted and you're really good at your CRM, maybe it's 150, maybe 200, but you're stretching it. But to really build a solid, strong relationship where they know you, right? They know your family, you know their children. It's about 100 people. So out of 100 people, about 5% moving, that's only 5 people moving per year in your sphere. So it's like that's not the math we're talking about. So how do you get 50 closings per year out of 100 people? Well, we know that if you really build those solid relationships, it's about that second level of your sphere. How do you get those 100 people to refer business to you? Right? If each one of them knows 100 people, right? If they're more extroverted, they might know 150. If they're more introverted like me, they might know 50. But the point is, we all know a lot of people. People that we go to church with, people we go to, to our kids' schools with, and people we hang out with at soccer or whatever it is. Right? You've got people enough that you can have conversations with and get to know them really well. And so that's 100 people times 100 people. Now you got 10,000 people in your sphere, in your extended sphere. So how do you get every single person to refer just one person every 2 years? Like if they know 5 people per year that are going to move, they know basically 10 people every 2 years. You're just asking for 10%. You're not asking for 50%. Just give me one person every 2 years.
Right.
That's it. Right. And if you do that, that still comes down to 50 closings per year. But the question is, like, how do you do that? How do you go from right now? That's math. Anyone can do math, right?
Right.
An Excel spreadsheet can tell you anything you want to tell you. So it really comes down to communication. You've got to be willing to reinvest into your sphere, right? Your sphere, those referral business is not free. Every agent that thinks your referral business is free, go back and look at their business and you'll probably see them closing no more than 6 or 7 homes per year. That's the 5%, right? Basically of your direct sphere who's giving you their business, right? Because they're your friends and family. So naturally, they're going to give you their business if they remember, right? So you've got to be willing to invest your time and your money into your sphere, into those relationships, if you want them to refer. I mean, how many times, I bet you right now, if I ask the question, how many of you had a friend or family or a neighbor sell with someone else, not because they didn't like you, because they forgot? And whose fault is that? It's not their fault for forgetting. It's your fault because you aren't constantly reminding them. And by the way, there's right ways and wrong ways to remind people you're a real estate agent, right? So one of the things I really encourage you to do is learn to tell stories, right? As you're selling homes, my wife always like, you need to write a book about all the crazy things you experience selling homes. Well, the fact is, every one of us listening right now could probably write a book about the crazy things. I sold one home, for example. We walk into the kitchen. The guy was a little nutty, but we walk in the kitchen, and all of a sudden he sits down cross-legged on the floor of the kitchen. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm listening for God." It's like, "Okay." He's like, "Would you sit with me?" Like, sure. I'm not going to be opposed to listening to God. I'll sit down, and it's just quiet for about 5 minutes. This is feeling really weird. And I start to stand up. It's like, "What'd you hear? Did God say something?" It's like, "Well, God doesn't really speak to me that way. I think He speaks to me through the Word, but I'm always willing to listen." He's like, "I really feel like God's telling me this is not the right house." It's like, "Okay, this is really getting interesting. Why is God telling you this is not the right house?" He says, "Because the house backs up to a main street. I'm worried about people throwing bombs into my yard." I was like, "This guy's a nut," So it is, but that's a fun story. So now when I go and I meet people for coffee and I can tell that story, I'm not saying, "Hey, don't forget I'm a realtor. Don't forget I'm a realtor." Right? Instead, I'm telling them this really fun story. And through that story, I'm reminding them that I'm a realtor. And so I'm always looking for ideas and stories I can then share. Like I had one agent was telling me that she was on the way to a listing. She had her top down in the car, and all of a sudden, just out of the blue, torrential rain. By the time she got to the listing appointment, she was just drenched. Because she had the roof off on her car. She's in a convertible, just completely drenched. She had puddles on the floor. So that's a funny story to tell, right? But again, you can tell those stories in ways that reminds people you're a realtor without shoving it down their throats.
Right.
So one of the things I'd really encourage you to do is try to meet with everyone in your sphere at least once every 3 months. Right? That means that every day your job should be to meet with one person per day for coffee or lunch. I used to have this policy: you never eat alone. Right? If you're going to eat with somebody. Use an opportunity to break bread, get to know them, get to know about their family, their stories, let them get to know you better. That's how relationships are really built. Because now when you pick up the phone and call them, say, "Hey, how you doing?" It's not weird anymore. Like if you just pick up the phone right now and randomly call someone in your sphere that you haven't talked to in a year, like, what can I do for you? Like they're thinking you're selling them something.
It's like an Amway call or something. Yeah.
That's right. But if I met them for coffee 30 days ago and they told me about going to Hawaii next week, I can pick up the phone and say, "Hey, how was your trip? How's your kids doing? Is that something you do annually now?" I mean, that was pretty exciting. So you've got an excuse to pick up the phone now. But that can't happen without meeting people and really building relationships to where now you can start So I encourage you, if you want to build those relationships, to be able to get those referrals and the relationships, is really try to meet with everyone at least once a quarter. Use Facebook as an excuse to reach out to people, right? So you can almost stalk them a little bit. When they talk about their trip to the beach, you can private message them, say, hey, where'd you guys go? We're thinking about going to the beach, in next quarter of my family, and I'm looking for the best place. Did you love where you went to? So Facebook gives you an excuse to reach out, and then that gives you an excuse to take a next level. Say, hey, let's grab coffee together. I'd love to hear more about it, right? So then it moves to personal, and then you can move to the phone call, to where now you should be touching everyone, verbally at least once a month. And then you've got your email blast that are going to them, their Facebook that you're putting out there, the mailer that they get in the mail, right? Knowing full well they're going to get that mailer and throw it away, and that's okay. It's okay.
They
the
remember
point
you
is
then.
that day, that day they saw your mailer, like, oh yeah, Josh the realtor, garbage can. But then that afternoon or 2 days later, when the neighbor says they're thinking about moving, like, oh yeah, Josh, 2 days ago, I remember that. They're going to throw it away. That's okay. The point is you're constantly reminding them that you're a realtor, you're a realtor, you're a realtor. Because if you don't do that, you're going to miss out on that business. The other thing I'd share is you got to be willing to reinvest your money back in, your commissions back in your business. If you don't have any money to start with, then that's okay. Get your first closing and take 30% of that closing, that commission, and set aside into a bank account, right? Divide that by 6. So if I've got $1,000 in there divided by 6, that's how much money I can spend every single month on marketing. And the next closing goes in there. And now I can spend $120 per month on marketing. And the next, eventually start building that up to where you've got enough money to invest in marketing. When I say marketing, your sphere is not free. Like buying coffee every single day for someone 5 days a week, you're talking about $50 a week times a month. It's $200 a month. It's not free. So be willing to reinvest. Referrals are not free. Now, if you want a lot of referrals, but that's a smart way to start building up your bank account. I'd actually encourage you to open up a second bank account, by the way. That way your commission money, the money you're setting aside each month to pay for your marketing has its own account. And that way, you're not tempted to touch it. That's your marketing funds. And always be dividing that. Because the one thing, a lot of people make, and I don't mean to keep going, is that they'll take those marketing dollars and they'll spend it all in 1 or 2 months, and then it's gone. And most marketing efforts take 6 months to a year.
It's a farming process. Yeah.
That's right. It's exactly right. So it takes time to come to fruition. And you've got to keep it consistent. Never give something a month or 2 months or 3 months. Give it a year. If you're going to invest, give it a full year, right, to really see the full results. And if after a year then it's not converting, then quit. But if you quit too soon, you're never going to really know if it worked or not. So that's why I say divide it by 6. That way, every time you come in, you've got more money to be able to fill out, 12 months worth of your marketing. And at the same time, too, think about your own personal family. Set aside some money as well to invest in your retirement, into your family. Because if you don't, I meet a lot of agents who are going to be agents until they're 90 years old because they've got no retirement, and that's a shame. Live beneath your means. You don't have to drive a Lexus. People will still hire you as a listing agent if you drive a Toyota Camry, right? As long as it's clean, as long as it looks professional, that's what matters. It doesn't have to be brand new. It doesn't have to be a luxury vehicle, right? So just take that little bit of savings and reinvest it back in your marketing, into your retirement, and so forth.
Just on that, it wasn't one of my questions here, but you bring that up. Do you find that a lot with agents where they feel like they have to play the part? Maybe they're brand new into the business, they don't have a lot, but they have to play the part, so they go out and get a bunch of expensive stuff to try to look like a luxury agent, but they're not selling that. Or I'm just curious.
By the way, that is true, and they're not all wrong. So let me explain it this way. If you're going to specialize in multi-million-dollar properties, then you probably don't want to show up in a 10-year-old Toyota Camry. Right? People want to know, when you're at certain levels, they want to know that you are successful because they need a successful agent who can sell their home, right? And so they want to know if you're successful. It means you probably have a newer car. But again, it doesn't have to be a Lexus or a Mercedes. There is some level that they're going to expect from you. Dressing the part. You can buy a nice suit at Men's Warehouse. If you're a guy, for $500, it doesn't have to be a $3,000 suit. Most people can't tell the difference. If they can, they're probably a snob. They can see the difference. Now, of course, there's really cheap people who can tell the difference. But the point is, you can look like $1 million without spending $1 million. So I do think it's really important to always dress at least one level above your clientele. So if your clients are very blue collar and they're always in jeans and t-shirts, then that's fine. Wear a jeans and a collared, polo shirt, or because you don't want to dress in a suit when they're in jeans.
Right,
and a
it's
t-shirt.
kind of intimidating, or yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
So it's always think about dress one level above. Right? If they're always in a jeans and a collared shirt, maybe wear slacks in a collared shirt. But you always be just one level above those people. Keep your car clean inside and out. People can see inside your windows unless they're really dark tinted. You just look professional. But again, you don't have to drive a Mercedes to get the business.
Very good. Well, I have a trivia to throw in here, and then a comment from Ray Hustek. 2 comments actually, so you can respond to those if you want. All right, this is for another $25 giveaway. So you gotta get your fingers ready to, your fingers or thumbs or whatever, ready to type here. What traditional Christmas decoration is actually a parasitic plant? What traditional Christmas decoration is a parasitic plant?
I know this.
Do you know this? Do you want to say it? Because
yeah. No,
they should. They'll. Well, you can say it here whenever you want. Whenever you want.
I might be wrong too. I'll save it for later.
Okay. So I mean, Ray said in relation to the kind of the sphere question or the sphere conversation, this is a great time of year. Writing handwritten notes, reaching out to people. It's just a very good opportunity to connect with people over the holidays here. But he also asked you, was there anything that surprised you in your journey of growing Fathom?
Actually, yes, but it's going to maybe be kind of a strange answer. I think, and this is not to be narcissistic or think that we're better than anyone else, but our model just makes so much sense that it shocks me sometimes that someone learns about the company and they're not willing to make a change. I mean, it doesn't offend me, but it's like, why? Why wouldn't you? But I get it from a psychological standpoint. A lot of people think that if you're only $450 versus I'm paying my current broker $3,000 per commission, per sale, somebody's got to give, and they're afraid of loss, right? Sorry. They're afraid of loss. They're afraid of what they don't know. Sorry.
I'm going to answer while you take care of yourself there. The answer was mistletoe, but I love that somebody answered poison ivy. Deck the halls with poison ivy. Da 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 da. I'm sorry.
Anytime you live somewhere that has mistletoe, you see it. I mean, it starts to eat away at the trees. It's all over the trees, and sometimes you have to clear it out to keep the tree healthy.
So. Anyways, oh yeah. So
joking,
I mean, yeah. As far as surprising you, just
that surprised me, but I also understand it, right? You don't know what you don't know. You're scared of the unknown. You're scared that if you move over, will your business die? And a lot of our competitors will tell their agents, companies like Fathom sound attractive, but their average agent closes 1 home per year. If you go there, your business is going to die. Now, is that true? No. In fact, in most of our markets, our agents outproduce a lot of our competitors. But the agents don't know that. They don't have the ability to go into broker metrics and see and compare apples to apples. But that's something that they're told. And so that's scary for a lot of people. So again, it just shocks me. Why would you keep paying $20,000 or $15,000 more per year when we give you everything they give you? So when I first started the company, I thought this is going to be like, you build it, they will come. This is a field of dreams, right?
Yeah.
People are just going to come by the boatloads because it makes so much sense. And it didn't happen. We've grown by about 40 to 50% per year. And I'm very proud of that growth. And that's beats almost all of our competitors. But I get it. So we as a company need to do a better job. I've learned of not just telling our story, but proving the naysayers wrong, and then making sure we hire good people. We don't just hire anybody. Just because they can fog a mirror doesn't mean we should hire them. And the people who make fun of it, by the way, the brokers who say they'll hire anyone who can fog a mirror, they do it too. In fact, the unique thing about Fathom is we won't. And the reason we won't is because we don't charge monthly fees. One of our competitors who charges monthly fees, $120 a month, $125 a month, they don't care if you close a sale or not because they're still making money. They're not losing money. If you join Fathom and you close no business, we actually lose money. So the ironic part is they say that about us, and yet the opposite's actually true. We don't have a bunch of agents who are closing nothing per year.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking, you mentioned, the fear of switching. As it relates to fear, when you were starting out as an agent, did fear, did you have any major fear hurdles? Earlier you mentioned as well, like having to spend some money, and if you kind of enter into the business without a lot, it's kind of a fearful thing to spend $200 on anything. But where's that kind of line, I guess? What are the fear hurdles that you wish more agents could get over? And on the other hand, things that you say, yeah, you should listen to that fear. Can you speak to that issue of fear?
It's interesting because one of the things you kind of alluded to is that fear keeps you from doing stupid things. It keeps you from doing positive things, right? It keeps you from doing anything. And that's what courage is. The courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to do it in spite of your fear. And so I'd have to argue that you need to be more courageous. I am not comfortable calling people out of the blue. I'm just not. I never was. Like I said before, I'm very introverted. So having to pick up the phone, just call someone out of the blue, I just was not good at. But what I learned because of that, it's like I knew that couldn't keep me, because if I didn't do it, my family starves. And by the way, that's actually the agents who try to be full-time career somewhere else and be part-time agent never really fully make a really awesome career of real estate, because they don't have that risk behind, weighing them down, right?
Right.
If they don't make the phone calls for the day,
There's always a safety net. Yeah.
And yet, at the same time, they'll never break that six-figure ceiling, because the job they're working for pays them $50,000. It's enough to be comfortable, but it's not life-changing money. Real